Guys, welcome to Small Fly Fisherman. This is episode 2 of fly fishing in the surf. Today I'm going to be fly tying for you a craft for clouser minnow. I prefer these to use in the surf because they're more durable than bucktail and they last a lot longer because it's not that natural material. I like to tie these in size 2 or 4 and this one right here is tan, which I'm going to be tying for you. But I'll tie them in black and purple and tan and olive as well. But all tan I really like. This fly is pretty simple. I catch a good bit of fish on it. The other day I caught a nice flounder off the rocks. And I caught about maybe a 14-pound redfish on. It's about the same fly as this one. So all you're going to need for this fly is a size about 4 to 1 hook. I'm using these Gamakatsu SL-3H. They're a very strong hook, so if you need to put that tension on it in the vise. And then you're also, of course, going to need some lead eyes. Small or medium work, depending on how big it is. And of course, craft fur. I like to have some Flashaboo. And then I also like to have some crystal flash. And probably use a tan thread if you're using a tan craft. Start by securing that hook real well in the vise. You gotta have it really tight to tie these saltwater flies. Like that. Start your thread right behind the eye. I think this is a 210 thread, so it's very strong. So start right behind the eye, and then work all the way back, almost to the bend of the hook. Snip that tag. Then bring your thread back to almost the eye of the hook. And take your lead eyes from the end of the hook, put them on like this, and where they end is where you're going to want to tie them in. You got to leave room in the front to tie in your craft fur. So do a couple wraps on each side. I mean, there's no specific amount of wraps to do, but I like to alternate, just do 1 or 2 on each side. So 1, 2, 1, 2, then you can just go do a couple. And then secure those wraps you just did by going around the eyes like this. Make sure those are secure. If you want, you can add a dab of head cement or super glue under the eyes. It really doesn't matter. Just depending on how long you want that fly to last. I personally don't do it just for time. Then you're gonna want to grab your Flashaboo and grab maybe 2, maybe 3 strands. Snip that and fold it over on itself a couple times. So take it, fold it. Then after you got that loop, so like you have that, cut it and fold it over again. Then you're going to want to take that. It's going to look like that. By that little loop you have in it, you're going to want to tie it in right before the bend of the hook. This, I think, just makes it look a little more shrimpy rather than a bait fish, which this can imitate. So if you don't know if you're going to use a minnow or a shrimp in the surf, use this. And then make sure that's really good in. You don't want it pulling out. And cover it all up and do a wrap or 2 under it. And then after you have it like that, grab it by like the tip of your finger. And you want to only have maybe that much. So maybe 1/2 inch. Now you're going to want to grab your craft fur, and you want maybe a 3/4 the width of a pencil width of craft fur. You can maybe get a pencil's width because there's a lot of under hair on craft fur. So you got that there. And then rip out all that under hair. So it looks about like that. You can tie this a little sparser than your average Clouser minnow. And then come right behind the eyes. I learned this little trick. Or instead of putting it in front of or the eyes, you start behind. And leave just a little bit. Tie it in right behind the eyes. And leave a little bit of room. And then tie that, cover up all of the actual craft fur. That's going to be your tail with thread. Making sure not to cover up that little bit of flashaboo you put in. So it should look like this at this point. Then you're going to want to bring your thread and bring it under the eyes, back in front, and grab this little bit of craft fur that you tied on and pull it in front of the eyes. And then you're going to want to do 2 real secure wraps. And you want to cut that so you don't cut the excess, so you don't crowd the eye of the hook. Make sure to cover all that up. You want it looking good. So now that you have it this, just cover up any extra craft fur. And then in a second, you're going to rotate your rotary vise. If you don't have one, just flip around the fly in your vise. So flip it over like that. And grab another clump of craft fur. Maybe a little bit more than before. I don't know if it really matters. Maybe about the same. Grab that, snip it, there you go. You want to have it about like that, same as before. You want to have it about the same length as what you just tied in. Tie this in right in front of the eyes on the opposite side though. Do a couple wraps and don't split the fibers, but just distribute them on either side of the hook so you know where it's going. Once again, clip that excess craft fur and cover up all of that fluffy stuff. You're just about done with this. Pull out any fibers that didn't get tied down. Clean up your fly. Then after you clean up that fly, take your crystal flash. You only need a few strands. I'm using, I think, root beer colored or copper colored, I'm not sure. Maybe get 2 strands. You can fold it over on itself a few times. So probably 4 strands once it's folded over. And tie that in so it's on. And tie that in so it's on that bottom side of the fly, so it'll be riding up in the water. Then cut your excess and cover up. Then just clean up your fly. Pull back that crystal flash and all the craft fur, and you're about done. That's your fly there. Very effective. get your whip finisher, or you can use your fingers, it doesn't matter. For saltwater flies, I just tend to like to use the whip finisher. 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you using glue, you don't need to use that many wraps, which I'm just going to take just some Gorilla Glue. And put a dab of it where I tied it off. And there you go. That's your fly. Make sure you let that super glue dry before you stick it in your fly box. This is a really great fly pattern for saltwater fishing in general, especially in the surf. Thank you so much for watching. And once again, if you didn't see the video before this, it's about tying a flatwing, which is a great fly for the surf, especially for trout. Thank you so much for watching. Come back and watch another video. Bye.